Hi, I'm Victoria. We're going to do some mat Pilates today, focusing on our lower body. But before we start, we just want to make sure we're engaged through the core. So I'm just going to get you to stand about hip width distance apart, toes in line with your heels, knees stacked over your ankles, hips stacked over your knees, and then shoulders stacked over your hips. And we're just going to start engaging our core. So I'm going to get you to take a breath in and engage your core to about 100%. Then you're going to slowly release it down to about 90, 80, 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, and hold it there. So that's how engaged in our core we want to be as we move through our Pilates today. So relax it down and we'll do that one more time. So I'm going to get you to take a breath in and engage your core to 100%, and then slowly start to release it off. So we go down to 90, 80, 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, and hold it there. So I'm going to get you to stand with your hands on your hips, feet hip width distance apart, and I'm going to get you to start to lift your heels up. So you're going to take a breath out as you lift the heels up, and then breath in as you lower them back down. So breath out as you find that lift up, and then breath in as you lower back down. So stick with that. We're going to breathe out, lift the heels up, and then lower them back down. And you're going to keep that core to about 30%. So breath out as you lift, and then breath in as you lower it back down. So breath out through the mouth as you come up, shoulders away from those ears, and then find that lift, and then that lower back down. We're going to do two more. So breath out as you find that lift up, and then breath in. It's a little bit balanced as well. Last one, breath out, find that lift up, and then breath in, lower it back down. So with your toes facing towards the top of your mat, your core at about 30%, we're going to start to find our squat here. So you're going to bend your knees, drop your bum back and reach your hands forward, and then lift back up to the top. So you're going to find a lower down on that breath in. Breath out, you're going to push yourself back up to the top. So find that lower, and then that lift. Then we're going to lift that left heel. So your left heel is going to come up. You're going to find that lower down, and then really squeeze into those glutes to find that lift back up. So keep that left heel lifted. You're going to lower, and then you lift. So find that lower down, squeeze into those glutes and lift back up to the top. So we do three more. Breath in as you lower, and then as you reach those arms forward, really think about your ribs and your shoulders drawing back. So you keep that 30% engagement into your core, and then we change. So lower the left heel, lift the right heel, find that lower down, and then that push back up. So this is going to work into your glutes, and it's also going to start to stabilize those ankles and get a little bit of movement into your feet. So we go for 3, breath in, breath out, and then last one. I'm going to get you to bring your hands back onto your hips, weight back into your right leg, and you're going to lean over to that right side. You're going to lift your left leg up, point through your left toes, and then you're going to find a lower and then a lift back up. So you're going to lower, touch that left toes or the left toes onto your mat or the floor, and then lift back up. You're drawing your shoulders down away from your ears and your hips, or down towards your hips, and your ribs down towards your hips as well. So you really lengthen into that left leg and you lift and then you lower. So breath out as you lift, and then breath in as you lower it back down. On that next one, you're going to lift up and hold up. So the left leg stays long. You're going to find a little circle. So again, you're pointing into those toes. So you're really lengthening and flexing into that foot. And then you're going to change direction. So go back the other way. Try and keep the center of your body nice and still. And try and still keep the shoulders stacked over the hips. So when you lean, you're not leaning forward. You're leaning and keeping everything in that nice alignment. We go for 3, 2, 1. And then we're going to lower down. We're going to change sides. So bring your weight over to your left side. Find that little lean over to the left. Lengthen out that right leg. Point through those toes and find that little lift up and then that lower back down. So you find that breath out as you lift and then breath in as you lower. You're also going to feel a little bit into that left leg, and it's going to strengthen into that left ankle at that same time. And then on that next one, find that lift up, little circles with that right leg. So again, try and keep the center of the body nice and still. Focus that gaze on something that's not moving, and then change your direction. Doesn't matter what those circles might look like if you actually saw them drawn. And then lower that foot down, bring yourself back into the center. So hands are going to come back onto your hips. You're going to bring your weight again into your right leg, and your left leg's going to lift up. With that leg lifted, so in your knee lift, your knees in line with your hip, you're going to flex that left foot. So you're going to draw your toes in towards your shins. Don't worry if you wobble. Shoulders are going to draw down away from those ears, and then you're going to hinge from your hips, draw that left leg through and step it behind you into a lunge. So this right leg's going to bend a little bit more, your hips are going to drop down. From there, you're going to push into that right foot again and drive your left knee forward, flexing the foot. So you draw your toes in towards that left shin, and then you go again. So you step it back, and then you draw it forward, lift and flex that left foot. So you're working into your glutes. You're also getting movement into that ankle, and you're stretching, don't worry if you wobble, like I just did, stretching into the top of your left foot as you step it back. So you've got that change in your foot position. So you're driving it back and almost pointing the toes, and then as you drive it forward, you're flexing into that foot. So last two, find that push back, and then drive it forward and lift the left leg, and then last one, find that lunge back, lift up, and then we lower down and change. So weight's going to come into that left leg. You might also feel it a little bit through that right ankle as well. So right foot's going to come up, knee's going to come in line with your hip. You're going to flex those right toes, so draw the toes in towards your shin, and then you're going to find that step back into your lunge. So you find that drive up, breath in, and then breath out, find that step back. So breath in, we lift, and then you step back into that lunge. So we find that lift up, and then that step back, last one. So breath in, drive it through and up, and then step it back. And then step your right foot back next to your left. Okay, so we're going to come down to the mat now. So you're going to bend your knees, so your knees are facing up towards the ceiling. Your hands and forearms, backs of the arms are all down onto the mat. You're going to push into the mat. You're going to lift your hips up and your bum and your back up. So you're really pushing into the forearms, and you're getting that lift from your feet as well. You're going to hold in your bridge. You're going to push into your right foot, and you're going to lift that left leg up. So left leg's going to come up in line with the right leg. Your foot again is going to flex, so you're going to draw your toes in towards your shin. Hips are nice and square. You're then going to lower that left leg, and as you do, you're going to point the toes. You're then going to find a lift up and flex the foot. So you're going to hold, lower, and then you lift back up. And you just find that movement through your ankle. So you point the toes as you lower, and you flex that foot as you lift it up. So find that point, keep the hips nice and still. So the only movement is from that left leg. We're going to do two more. So find that lift up, breath in, and then breath out, lower. Doesn't matter too much with the breath as long as you're breathing. So if you're doing it the other way, that's fine. And then you're going to lower down. So left leg's going to lower in. You're going to lower down through the vertebrae in your back. So slowly but surely until that bum lowers down onto the floor. Reset yourself. So push into the hands again. Push into the feet. You're going to lift your hips up. Try and keep your knees in line with your hips, so you don't let the knees drop out, you keep them in line. Push into your forearms, push into your left foot. You're going to lift your right leg up. Flex the toes, and then find that movement down, and then that movement back up with the movement with your foot. So you point the toes as you lower, flex the foot as you come back up. So you keep that movement, keep pushing into the left foot, the left side of your glutes, and keep pushing into those arms. So you should feel this in your glutes, your core, your arms, and a little bit of that mobility through that ankle at the same time. We do one more. One more lift up. As you point and draw it down, bring that right foot back to the mat, lower your back down. So nice and slow. And then just give those knees a little move from side to side. Okay, so we're going to come to lay on one side now. Doesn't matter which side you're on, but your bottom arm is going to be like your pillow. So you can lengthen that arm so you can lean on it so you're comfortable. Your shoulders are going to be stacked, hips are going to be stacked. So you want that top hip on top of that bottom hip. Your bottom leg can bend, and then you're going to lengthen your top leg. So your top leg is going to go nice and long. Hand can just be on the hip, or you can bring it down here to support you a little bit more if you need to. You're going to swing that top leg forward, and then you're going to pull it back in line with that hip. So you find that draw forward, you point through the toes, and then you flex the foot as you draw it back in line with your hip. You only want to make that movement as big so your hips don't move. If you feel your hips moving around, Make that movement a little bit smaller. And the other element of control you want is you want this leg to stay at the same height for the whole movement. So you're not letting it drop down, you're keeping it up at the same height. Find that movement into the foot, so you flex, toes draw in towards you as you draw it forward, and then you point the toes as you bring it back. On that next one, we're going to pull it forward, hold it forward, toes draw in, you're going to find a pulse up and down. So little movements, again, keep your core engaged, so you're still at that 30%, and you keep your hips still, so that top hip stays stacked on top of the bottom one. We go for 3, really draw the toes in towards your shins, and then last one. Bring it in, then you're going to change sides. So you're going to come over to your other side. Again, use that top arm as your pillow. You're going to shoulders stacked, keep the hips stacked, your bottom knee can bend, and then your top leg can lengthen out. From here, start to find that forward and back. So you point the toes as you bring the leg back, you flex the foot as you draw that leg forward. So find that movement in through your ankle, find that pull forward of the leg, keep the hips nice and still, core switched on, and that leg at that same height. So keep at the same height for the whole movement. Pull the leg forward, hold it forward, find that little pulse up and down. So small little movements. You should feel it through that right side or through the top side of your glute, whichever glute you're on, whichever side, and keep pulling your toes in towards you, so you keep that position with your foot. We go for 3, 2, 1, and then bend it. Okay. So we're going to come down to a low kneel. You're going to sit back onto your feet. From here, now this might be enough for you. You can just stay here if you want to. If you already feel a stretch through the top of your feet, you can just stay here. If you want a little bit more, you're going to bring your weight back, so you start to lean the body back. Fingertips touch onto the mat, and you start to lift the knees up. So you should feel a nice stretch through the tops of your feet is where we're aiming. And then you're just going to lower it back down, and then when you're ready, lift up again. So on that breath out, find that little lean back. Weight into the bum, the knees lift, the hands are there to support you, or you can bring them up if you want to, and then you lower. We're going to do one more like that. So breath out, find that hover up, reach it forward, find that little balance if you want to. And again, you should feel that nice stretch right into the tops of your feet. And then you're going to lower, knees down, keep the bum where it is, and just extend your arms forward, come into your child's pose. So knees can come a little bit wider here if you want to. Again, we're stretching through the tops of the feet, stretching into the hips, and then just reach the hands forward and let that forehead drop down. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed